Greetings all, D&Disability here. After my Goblin video, I feel compelled to give the other side of ADHD, the side that shows off the hardworking, caring, determined, dysfunctionally amazing characters that ADHD can create. So, what creature best represents this? Well, you've seen the title card, so say it with me. Gnomes and halflings. Now, most people group these two together because they fail to see a difference between them. That's not why I'm doing it here. Both gnomes and halflings exhibit different aspects of ADHD, with gnomes getting the hyperactivity and halflings getting the more compassionate elements. Stick around to find out if your halflings and gnomes have these ADHD traits. Now, just a note, I've divided this video into 3 sections, starting with strong workers with these characteristics, why halflings and gnomes are people with these characteristics, or people persons if you prefer, and finally a last kind of miscellaneous category that gets into games, life, adventuring, that kind of thing. And if you want to read more on this subject, I have the links to a couple of decent resources in the description. Halflings or gnomes are both natural builders, whether landscaping a garden or tunneling for ore. Both sides succeed in doing great works with less muscle. They don't do this on their own, their ADHD can help. Gnomes have a reputation as tinkerers, mad inventors, productive craftsmen. Halflings apply the same level of focus to their mental preparation in gardening. This is thanks to their ability to hyper-focus. The time they spend relaxing, whether it's manically doodling designs or enjoying a good meal, is spent between times of often manic, productive activity. Our second element here is motivation, and their motivation to do these works sends them diving headlong into their mundane tasks and encouraging others to join them. Their strong drive and work ethic helps others find the groove to get more work done, and thus these two groups of little people succeed at doing as much work as larger humanoids while still being able to relax, smoke a pipe, and have 6 or 7 meals a day. Alright, now, this isn't to say that gnomes or even halflings are always successful in their endeavors. Sometimes the cake doesn't turn out, the engine blows a gasket, or your new automated wood splitter explodes when the boiler fails catastrophically. However, this doesn't bring either group down. Their resilience is awe-inspiring. Any failure is met with the enthusiasm of a get back up and try again mentality. This also means they show persistence in the face of obstacles and don't let hardships like a lack of flour, prefabricated components, or simply a rainy day slow them down. Halflings and gnomes meet their problems with creative and new solutions. So what if they can't pull a plow? They put wheels on it and make it a little easier to pull. This feat took us thousands of years to develop as human beings, so to them it might just seem as common sense. A gnome workshop might not make too much sense to an outside observer, but to the gnome running it, all these tools could be sorted by usefulness, use in a specific task or part of the shop, in order by step of use, or simply categorized by shape, size, and color. While halflings love a good party, it's hard to host a party if no one's on time. Their ADHD comes to the rescue here as well. A gnome's workday benefits greatly from the punctual nature that comes naturally out of those of us with ADHD, who often obsess over being on time and show up early whenever possible. Seriously, I love the South in the US, I really do, but their nature of struggling to be on time drives me up a wall. So, your halflings and gnomes should always be the first to arrive and the last to leave. ADHD makes them fear not being productive enough, so a common theme is always being early to make sure you are never late. Because as we all know, once you start being late, it is all downhill from there. Alright, so the final trait in this section specifically is workplace advocacy. In my mind, halflings and gnomes that routinely deal with larger groups have no problem standing up for themselves. This doesn't mean they'll fight for their rights openly. Rather, they'll make or do whatever is needed for themselves if no one else will. Say you don't cater to little people at your bar, that's fine. They'll leave, make their own bar, and make sure the ceiling is nice 4 feet high to keep all the big people out. But with all due seriousness, they'll make sure that people know they are just as productive and just as capable as any big person. Alright, on to part 2. Both gnomes and halflings are community driven. This is for cultural reasons, but also might be because of ADHD. Their generosity and empathy means that both groups, but especially halflings among friends, are willing to lend an ear, a hand, or offer a warm meal to anyone down on their luck. This also might mean that homelessness could be at an all-time low amongst halfling communities. Their compassion for others extends to animals as well. We see this particularly with gnomes and their ability to speak with animals in some game systems. Both groups are open to the emotional needs of others, and this is common with ADHD. While a halfling or gnome might sit down to share their story over a beer, they usually are doing so because their ADHD makes them overshare with others. This can be positive. It can get others to engage with them. There's rarely a quiet moment in a hobbit hole or a gnome warren. Gnomes, and some halflings, spend their time playing practical jokes, sharing funny stories, gossip, or simply using good-natured humor to lighten the mood and keep everyone happy and entertained. Their compassion, empathy, and earnest emotions make them great romantics as well. Look no further than Scanlan in Critical Role to prove this point. But Casanovas aside, halflings and gnomes often have long, healthy partnerships that often resemble a larger nuclear family. These relationships lead to a complex network of community clan-style relationships. They're all built on the halfling and gnome ability to romance, which is in no small part thanks to their ADHD. Alright, so our third section for the day. While adventuring, playing games at home, or simply going about their lives, gnomes and halflings bring a spontaneous, risk-taking, surprise-filled, and fair challenge-oriented style wherever they go. These two species often find new challenges as a fair contest, excelling at bar games, card games, and settling disputes in as equitable a way as possible. While halflings are usually risk adverse, they are curious enough to try new things, especially when they're younger. Gnomes, on the other hand, maintain a lifelong relationship with spontaneity and risk taking that sometimes may seem reckless. However, their ADHD makes this easy, and while there may be consequences later, that's a problem for their future selves, not right now. For both, though, life is a surprise. Your halflings delight in seeing plants sprout. The new life rising from the soil will bring smiles and a nervous energy to almost any halfling. Gnomes, of course, may handle surprises with the same nervous energy they would in experiment. And while either might be perturbed by the sudden onset of company that disrupts what little plans they had, they'll flee in terror, pretend not to be home, or simply greet their new company with bright eyes and beaming smiles. Their adaptability, sociability, and determination make halflings and gnomes two prime examples of the positive aspects of ADHD. Alright, y'all, this has been some of my thoughts on ADHD. It certainly will not be the only intellectual disability I will cover on this channel, but after my Goblins video, I felt that I needed to show the awesome power of ADHD in every sense of the word. It isn't just a negative, although some days it really feels like it. Sometimes it feels like a true superpower, one your halflings and gnomes might be utilizing to combat a scary world full of goblins, big people, and unforeseen terrors. Take it easy, remember to like, share, subscribe, and and I will see you next week.